all, this is the COT data video for the week beginning the 17th of April. This data is from Tuesday, so we're now caught up, which is great. If you remember, we had a little bit of a delay because the website, the CFTC website, was hacked. So we didn't have any COT data for several weeks, and now we're caught up, which is great. Now we have to remember the Euro USD is that we're positive on the year. Okay, so we have to remember that. Technically speaking, it's bullish because we're positive on the year from where we were a year ago. So 16th of April 2022, we're positive. Okay, and now the net non-coms have added to their positions, and we went from 143 to 163. So it's a big increase. So be careful if you're short the euro. Okay, and see the dollar is still quite fairly steady, but we are declining ever so slightly, and it's a very gradual decline, but it's not very significant. You know, this is more of a significant move to the upside. This is just kind of the sideways a little bit. We might even just chop around, which is what the Swiss franc has been doing. We might go negative on USD, but just chop. So that's a potential scenario. And let's look at the yen. And I'm going to do a second video today because I want to do a wrap-up video about the indices. A bit sideways, we're a little bit more negative, minus 53, minus 57. So we are already net negative at the big picture, but obviously that's just increased, added to that bias. So a little bit bearish on the yen, but it's quite sideways. Let's take the euro off. We know it's positive. They've really added longs. Let's look at the Aussie. And Aussie got dumped a bit, which is fine. 27, 37. So fairly significant dump on the Aussie. We are negative, or more negative than we were. So that's that. Pound. Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. So on Friday, we'll have some COT data to look at. If the pound COT data is positive, we'll be in positive territory for the first time in ages. And don't forget what happened here. We had a big, strong reaction off the zero line. So news permitting and central bank permitting, we might continue higher. That's a very important level. 2000, we just breached above the positive territory. Really decided to dump. And possibly a Brexit-related Northern Ireland thing, possibly to do with the Bank of England. They had sent out some mixed messages around this time. I know they didn't like it. The banks and institutions they did sell it. So that's that. So that's really interesting. So when it comes out on Friday, check the pound data, the COT data. If we are green, if we're positive, then we'll be above the zero line for the first time in ages. But do note we sold off very heavily. So it all depends what they want to do with the pound. When I say they, it's the banks. So whether or not they want to be continuing to go long, they might do. If we do, we might even get a pound USD long because we're going to get a crossover of the USD and the pound. So next week's going to be very interesting. And remember that I'm moving home, so I can't guarantee this COT data video will come out. But I'll try my best. I mean, in fact, I probably can connect to my phone internet, can't I? So CAD is positive from the week prior, but very slight. In fact, it's a bit too close to the yen, so we can't see the data. But we can see a slight uptick on the CAD. We're negative, but I'd say we were sideways, to be honest. We were slightly higher than we were the week prior. It's only a very insignificant move there. So negative on the CAD and slightly sideways on that. And there's not really anything you want to be trading there on the CAD yen. It would be a CAD yen buy, but they're just so close. The two currencies, they're just too close. You want like a big deviation, and then you can trade that, but that's just a bit too close. So this theoretically would be a CAD yen long, okay? But you'd want like a better distance between the two lines. CAD off, gold, I bet it's pumped. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. We just stalled a little bit, and we went to 2050 didn't we? And it's very crazy. So the second video today will be looking at gold. So stay tuned for that. That'd be a good video. And I was saying how it was going to be a risky sell, and we did fall. So I think everything that I said on Friday panned out. I think so. That's why I want to do a wrap up video. So we stalled a little bit, and we saw a big reaction on the sentiment, on the retail sentiment. So that kind of like coincides with that. Like a little stall in there, and this really stopped out the small fish, the retail guys, and it is what it is, isn't it? 195, 192. It's a slight decrease, but quite positive. Look how far away we are from the zero line. Let's take that off, and then we can look at New Zealand dollar. And just sideways, we did go above the range, but then we just broke below it again, so just chopping. So that's that. And then that's probably going to be the same with the Swiss, which I think the USD might follow similar path, but we're just going to chop. Take Kiwi off. We're just going to go like this. Just sideways chop. So it might be something like this. The dollar's going to just find some support, but just like just sideways, and like the Swiss franc's been doing. Let's put the yen back on. We can see how sideways it is comparison to the two currencies. We're just chopping, aren't we? So I've got a feeling that the USD is going to bottom out potentially below the zero, and it's going to do this for ages, and then eventually the Euro USD and the Pound USD will then top out, and then we can maybe start rising on the USD. So that's that. So I'm going to do a quick 2-minute video. It won't be a long video on my indices analysis. And just a reminder that you can look at any permutation on this as well. And this is free for all COSIDB customers from the bulletin tier and above. So this is a really good document. And what Christian has done for us is summarize the changes in the Delta tab, which is really cool. So we can see the increase of the Euro longs. And he's done like a summary for it, which is really cool. So he's done that for us. We can apply a conditional format to this, so it doesn't need to be manually typed out. We can do an if statement. If that's positive and then that's negative, then it equals that. But I will have a look at this when I've settled down in my new house. So this time next week I'll be in my new house, which would be quite cool. And we can have a look at sort of automating this summary, because it doesn't need to be written out manually. We can just look at those fields, and we can do an if statement. So if the euro is positive there and it's negative there, it means that they added more longs and they closed shorts. And that's it. So do a video now, like I say, and I'll speak to you guys soon.